So today you get to hear Chapter 9 of Edward Tulane. I hope you'll enjoy listening to this chapter, read by Louis de Montbrun. Before you get started listening to this chapter, you should know a few important words. The first word that you'll come across that you might not understand is a shift. And a shift is just another word for a plain dress. The second word that you'll hear is mortified. If someone is mortified, they are really embarrassed about something. And the final word you might not understand is daft. And daft is not a kind word, and I would not like students to use this word. Daft is a mean way of saying that somebody isn't very smart. And remember, when you're listening to this chapter, if something doesn't make sense, stop, pause the video, and listen again. Maybe it'll make more sense the second time. Or if you still don't understand what you've heard, you can always post a Flipgrid video. Enjoy Chapter 9.
Chapter 9. And so Edward Tulane became Susanna. Nellie sewed several outfits for him, a pink dress with ruffles for special occasions, a simple shift fashioned out of a flowered-covered cloth for everyday use, and a long white gown made of cotton for Edward to sleep in. In addition, she remade his ears, stripped them of the few pieces of fur that remained, and designed him a new pair. "Oh," she told him when she was done, "you look lovely." He was horrified at first. He was, after all, a boy rabbit. He did not want to be dressed as a girl, and the outfits, even the special occasion dress, was so simple, so plain. They lacked the elegance and artistry of his real clothes. And then Edward remembered lying on the ocean floor, the muck in his face, the stars so far away, and he said to himself, "What difference does it make, really? Wearing a dress won't hurt me." Besides, life in the little green house with the fisherman and his wife was sweet. Nellie loved to bake, and so she spent her day in the kitchen. She put Edward on the counter and leaned him up against the flour canister and arranged his dress around his knees. She bent his ears so that he could hear well. And then she set to work, kneading dough for bread and rolling out dough for cookies and pies. The kitchen soon filled with the smell of baking bread and with the sweet smells of cinnamon and sugar and cloves. The window steamed up, and while Nellie worked, she talked. She told Edward about her children, her daughter Lolly, who was a secretary, and her boys Ralph, who was in the army, and Raymond, who had died of pneumonia when he was only 5 years old. "He drowned inside of himself," said Nellie. "It was a horrible, terrible thing. The worst thing to watch someone who you love die right in front of you and not be able to do nothing about it. I dream about him most nights." Nellie wiped at her tears with the back of her hand. She smiled at Edward. "I suppose you think I'm daft, talking to a toy, but it seems to me that you are listening, Susanna." And Edward was surprised to discover that he was listening. Before, when Abilene talked to him, everything had seemed so boring, so pointless. But now the stories Nellie told struck him as the most important thing in the world, and he listened as if his life depended on what she said. It made him wonder if some of the muck from the ocean floor had gotten inside his china head and damaged him somehow. In the evening, Lawrence came home from the sea, and there was dinner, and Edward sat at the table with the fisherman and his wife. He sat in an old wooden high chair, and while at first he was mortified, a high chair, after all, was designed for babies, not for elegant rabbits. He soon became used to it. He liked being up high, looking out over the table instead of staring at the tablecloth as he had at the Tulane household. He liked feeling like a part of things. Every night after dinner, Lawrence said he thought he would go out and get some fresh air, and then maybe Suzanne would like to come with him. He placed Edward on his shoulders as he had that first night when he walked him through town, bringing him home to Nellie. They went outside, and Lawrence lit his pipe and held Edward there on his shoulders. And if the night was clear, Lawrence said the names of the constellations one at a time. Andromeda, Pegasus, pointing at them with the stem of his pipe. Edward loved looking up at the stars, and he loved the sound of the constellation names. They were sweet in his ears. Sometimes, though, staring up at the night sky, Edward remembered Pellegrina, saw again her dark and glowing eyes, and a chill would go through him. Warthogs, he would think, witches. But Nellie, before she put him to bed each night, sang Edward a lullaby, a song about a mockingbird that did not sing, and a diamond ring that would not shine, and the sound of Nellie's voice soothed the rabbit, and he forgot about Pellegrina. Life for a very long time was sweet, and then Lawrence and Nellie's daughter came for a visit.
I hope you've enjoyed the latest chapter in The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Kate DiCamillo. Click on the links in the description of this video to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Y2K Teacher, HRCE, or to check out my website with more exciting resources. These chapters have been read to you by members of the Bedford, Nova Scotia community. These community members have been brought together through the Talk Bedford Facebook group.